All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today for our Handrail Design Workshop. We're here with the folks at Promenaid. We've got Kell, Rob, and Janice here to answer all of your questions. So we did have some folks submit questions to us in advance. Thank you so much for doing that. I also really want to encourage folks to submit any questions to the Q&A or using the chat throughout today's presentation. We really want to keep the discussion open and be able to get to as many of your questions as possible. So whether you have like a general topic you are hoping to touch base on, a project-specific question, feel free to submit it in the chat or the Q&A. You can also raise your hand and we'll unmute you. So I'll keep my eye on all of those different things throughout the presentation. Before we go ahead and get started, my colleague Helen is going to give a quick little introduction about Acelab, show you how to get in touch with today's presenters on Acelab in case you've got some questions that come up after today's event, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our webinar for the day. All right, Helen, feel free to take it away.
Cool, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Helen. I'm the Director of Architect Experience here at Acelab. I have my MArch. I know how important handrail design is, can really make or break your projects. So excited for y'all to have these folks here. After the webinar, you're going to get a message from either myself or my colleague, Evelyn. We're going to start a conversation for you within your Acelab account. You'll be able to access that by logging back in, going to Workspace, and then conversations here. So we will put in what you're looking for, product literature, technical info, pricing, whatever that was that you put in the survey, that'll be there. And then these lovely folks you see will get back to you within the portal. You'll also get an email. You can always reply directly to that email. That'll put the conversation in Acelab, so you have that as a record. If you also want to get in touch with them, you can come up here to the top bar within your Acelab account. Make sure you have a brand selected, and then you can jump here to Promenaid, and here you'll see a little information, how to get in touch. You can hit that contact button. Again, that'll start a conversation. A little bit of information about them, and then you'll also be able to see all of their products, and then you can save these into either your general research, your firm library, or a specific project that you're working on. So that's how to kind of what to expect after the webinar and how to navigate and find these folks on the platform. One last thing, we have a lot of exciting stuff coming. So I'm gonna let y'all in on a little preview here, but for example, if I was to save this handrail, what's coming out in a few weeks as kind of an early access opportunity for some of you is the ability to then be able to generate your schedules within Acelab. So this is coming out soon. We're excited. Again, the products that you save into your project, sorry about that zooming, will be here. You can note your approvals, what material you might be using, all this great information, other projects it's been used on, and then you'll see the lovely faces of these folks, for example, if you save their handrail in. And this can all be exported and put into your drawing sets, kind of directly. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I'd love to chat with you and see if you would like to join kind of our early access program. There's only 64 spots remaining. So you can get access to this kind of over the summer. Tell us what you think so we can really make it work for your firm. But love to talk to y'all. And thank you, Promenaid, for having me and for the work you do. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Helen. I'll go ahead and launch a quick poll. So if you're interested in getting some information on setting up a demo, you can respond yes to this poll, and also keep your eye out in the chat for a meeting link from Helen. All right. Without further ado, Rob and Kell, I'd love to hand it on over to you to start off today's presentation. And just one more reminder to all our participants, please feel free to use the Q&A in the chat as needed throughout the presentation. We'll keep our eye on that.
Thank you so much. Hang on, let me just share my screen here. I will reiterate what Bo just said. Please feel free to put up your hand, unmute yourself. We're trying something new here today. Really, we're a bit of flying by the seat of our pants. Webinars are pretty painful. We've been doing them for many years. And it's a lot of talking to the screen. So we're really looking forward to having something that's more engaging. Just a quick background about ourselves. Kell, who you're looking at there, invented Promenaid about 14, 15 years ago. And I joined him even before we had the prototype. We're located here in Montreal. Everything is done here in Montreal. Planning, our head office, and all the manufacturing is done here except for a couple of items. But basically, everything comes right out of here. It's all within a couple of miles or kilometers, depends how you want to refer to it. And really, what in a nutshell, what sets our system apart is the simplicity of it. We try to simplify everything about the handrail, from the planning to the design to the installation. It started with an installation issue, and we discovered that everything about the handrail could be quite difficult. And we've developed a system that can be installed by anyone. We have thousands of DIY homeowner customers who've installed it themselves. No special tools, no training. What started also as a very painful experience by a friend took him 6 months. What took him 6 months, we can do in a matter of days. I received a phone call from Los Angeles on a Thursday morning, and it was designed, shipped, and installed by Friday afternoon. So the picture you're seeing on the screen is a job we're very proud of. The grand opening actually happens to be today. It's the Orlando Utilities Commission. It's like a high-profile job that they're doing, and all that guardrail, handrail, LED lighting is ours. Jacobs Architecture saw our stuff. I met them at a conference, and they immediately switched out what they were doing to this, and so it's a real showpiece. So we're quite proud of it. So this could take the full hour. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We've got a couple of questions, I think about 5 of them that have already been submitted, which we want to get to. I'm just going to see so here, why don't we just jump to the questions first, and we can tackle those. There are a couple of other very common categories that we get, though, asked about, which I'll also get to, but I'm going to let Kell handle this one.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, everybody. So this is a great question. What do you do if you don't have solid blocking in the wall? And it's just, the handrails have to be solid. That's a given, as you know. Both the code, the way they're tested, and and the reality of it is that it's not any particular bracket that needs to be solid. It's the entire assembly that has to be solid. So if you're testing a handrail as we do, or the labs do, they're pulling on it in the worst condition to make sure it doesn't pull away from the wall or fall down. So if you have solid blocking or studs to attach to, that's great, because one of our brackets, which each bracket can hold 500 pounds, can be just attached to the stud, or any kind of, if you've got any kind of masonry behind there, even easier. The brackets that we have, you can use any kind of fastener on one of the sprocket lock style bracket that we manufacture, because it's going to be hidden in the final installation. So whether you use a Tapcon type into masonry, or a toggler type bolt into a steel stud, or wood screws into blocking, each one of those brackets can hold 500 pounds. But if you don't have a solid, any one of the above, you can still attach the handrail to the wall. It just means that the whole assembly is maybe going to require more brackets, so that you can maintain that kind of 125 pounds per linear foot strength. So if you have a brackets that can hold 500 pounds each, theoretically, you could put them 8 feet apart, and they can still get the strength in our system if the wall was strong enough. But if you're going into, let's say, a wall that's made only of drywall, well, a single sheet of drywall is going to be a little hard to install to. But if there's even a double drywall, you just use toggler type fasteners, but you're going to need more brackets. So we're going to look at the rating of the fastener and make sure that you have enough brackets to achieve it. And also, there are some specialty fasteners that can be used on drywall, even single drywall. One of them is made by a kind of a competitor of us, but it's a great product. It's called a Moen Secure Mount. And it's used primarily for grab bars. It kind of goes into the wall. It's like a giant toggler. And you can attach to that with our bracket. Again, the fastener is completely hidden, so you don't see the Moen Secure Mount. But it's rated at up to 300 pounds. So you could definitely put one of those every 3 feet or so and get a strong installation. And also, final note on this, don't want to dwell on question number one, but very often you'll have one or two brackets in, in a length that are in a solid, wall of some sort, masonry or drywall, or sorry, or a stud. And because those two brackets are going to support 500 pounds, the intermediate brackets are there not so much for the overall strength or the code compliance, but they're there to prevent the bracket from the railing from flexing, and also for maybe visual purposes. You'll have one place where the bracket should be there aesthetically, but there's nothing good to attach it to. And in that case, you can put the bracket in with toggler type bolts or triple grip wall anchors or whatever holds it securely in place, knowing that the brackets to the left and the right of it are going to achieve the strength you require.
And we also designed it. This is, without getting into the nitty gritty details, but this is the component that attaches to the wall. We call it the sprocket, and that hole in the center was sized to fit the toggler that Kell was referring to. The other thing about the bracket.
Sorry, Rob, go up to 5/16 on that hole in the center. So this is not your hardware store bracket with number 8 screws. This you can put a very substantial fastener if you need to.
So this is one of our brackets. You can see it's pretty heavily engineered. That'll hold at least 500 pounds. And Kell was talking about placing the brackets. Well, every railing has this profile, this channel. So you can just put the bracket wherever you want. You twist it, now it's locked in place, and you pivot it. We've got another style bracket that you can also see on our website. But basically, that's so you've got a very secure but very versatile and movable bracket. You can add, remove, reposition them at any time. So,
sorry, before we go on to number 2, we did get 2 quick questions in the chat already. Thanks for
I saw those. Yeah.
asking if it's interior or if they can go outside as well. They can go outside. We do have a wood finish that is only suitable indoors.
Yep.
Other one, any supply chain issues between Canada supplying to the US, any additional costs due to manufacturing in Canada versus the US? I'll let you guys take that one away.
The quick answer is no issues at all. We ship thousands of dollars a day to not just the dollars, but the handrails themselves, actually, to the US. The majority of our business is in the United States. And we are extremely cost and price competitive. I'll let Kell talk a bit more about the
there are no issues because of the free trade agreement. Because the Canada, US, Mexico trade agreement, everything is duty free. Everything is North American origin, so it all goes from Montreal to Atlanta as quickly as from Minneapolis to Atlanta. No issues whatsoever.
We have a couple of photos further on in the slide deck I can show you. Oh, the first photo that we showed, that's an outdoor application. The finish is anodized. It's the thickest anodizing possible, so it's good for indoors, outdoors, showers, salty air, marine environments.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardware is powder coat zinc. That's also extremely durable. Janice was saying
we should mention that under the anodizing, under the powder coat, like you say, are zinc and aluminum, which are sort of naturally weather resistant or rust resistant materials. So overall, the combination of aluminum, zinc with these durable finishes and only stainless steel fasteners, mostly stainless steel fasteners in our product, means that they're going to not just withstand the elements, but last forever.
The other issue on the durability, anodizing is nice because if it gets an abrasion or scuffed, you can use something like Comet and a damp cloth to buff it out. And if it gets really damaged, it's a modular system, so you can replace small parts of it. Beth, we will absolutely get to that question. That's that channel has led everybody to that question about LED lighting. I just wanted to show you, we mentioned a wood finish. You can see it's wood. This is real wood. It's a very thin veneer of, this is oak, and it's bonded to the aluminum. So counterintuitive to me, it's actually stronger than solid wood. It takes on the properties of the aluminum. So, and it uses a small fraction of the wood you would need for a solid wood handrail. So there are a bunch of questions in the chat, which is fabulous. I'm just gonna go to question number 2 if I can. Let me see how we do it there, and we'll get to the so Kell, you want to we can even handle the best question about the integrated lighting at the same time. So the question is written up there: limitations with the recessed handrail. And we were fortunate to get the before, I call it the during and after photos from the client. I'll let Kell talk to that.
Yeah, so no issues with the recessed handrail as far as the code. Obviously more difficult to do, but the code requires a certain amount of space above. Doesn't require any space below the handrail. It just needs that passage for the hands of 2.5 inches clear, which is what our bracket provides. So if you can fit the bracket and you can fit the handrail in the cove, then you've got code compliant handrail. This is actually, we're in the United States, it would not be code compliant because you don't have the return to the wall at the end. But the recessing, not an issue, and it makes for kind of a cool look. This one happens to have lighting as well. So to answer the question about lighting options, Rob showed you how the bracket clips in place anywhere on the handrail, and that's really one of the keys to the ease of installation, modularity.
Here, I'll just preview that a bit.
Yeah, so the channel, not only does it accept the brackets, but it accepts these LED modules. And rather than having a kind of a continuous strip lighting effect, which is very hard to get even and fit between the brackets and so on, we've got these modules that you can add, generally one between each pair of brackets, but as many or as few as you like to provide, life safety lighting or accent lighting, whatever type of lighting effect you want to create. They're dimmable. They're, of course, because low voltage, you can have it on a controller that works with your Alexa or Siri or Google Home. So you have the ability to play with the spacing of the lights and the intensity of the lights to create various lighting effects. It's much more versatile than having strip lighting, but also much more durable because these are high intensity, high lifetime lighting. It works indoors and outdoors, as you saw in the Orlando project earlier. 60,000 hours rating, typically much longer, especially if you dim them. It's kind of a lifetime light that you can put in there.
Speaking of life, they also meet the life safety requirements.
Yeah.
We're now working with a number of retrofits in cinemas, and the cinemas were built 25 years ago when the lighting requirements weren't the same. So it's been a huge labor, materials, and planning efficiency for them. Kell, there's a question from Jeff. Any issues with electrolytic corrosion using stainless steel?
Such a great question.
Now you've lost it. There goes
nerd
Kell.
out for the next 40 minutes now. Everybody else can put it on pause. No, I'll try to keep this quick. There's definitely a potential issue when you mix stainless steel and aluminum because there's a galvanic reaction that happens where the anode and the cathode react and create electricity and corrode the material. What will always happen is the larger surface will be unaffected, and the smaller mass is the one that corrodes, and that's because the electron flow is just even across them, but it's all very concentrated in the smaller mass item and dissipated in the larger mass. So if, for example, you were to have an aluminum screw in a stainless steel handrail, it would corrode very quickly. If you have a stainless steel screw in an aluminum handrail, it will corrode never, because the stainless steel, which is taking the force of the anodization, or the small item, the screw, is going to be stainless steel. It's going to be higher up the electrolytic chain, and it's not going to be affected. So that was very important, conscious design effort to make sure that the stainless steel is in the screws, and the aluminum is in the handrail. And by the way, if you ever see a stainless steel handrail outside, or a bike bollard or anything like that attached to the ground, almost invariably the screws are corroded. Even if they're galvanized and stainless or whatever, the screws corrode. Why? Because the stainless steel is imparting electrolytic energy to those smaller items. By turning it around, we've got something that will last, as I said, forever.
It's amazing. It's exactly what I was going to answer.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
And then that's enough about
don't ask him about cars, or else
Don't
he'll be
ask me
gone.
about cars.
Yes. This question came in. I'm not. If whoever asked the question could type in, I think it's a typo in there, but I'm not sure what that is, what that means. So we can come back to that, or
Let's take a stab.
Okay.
An exit stair, that's something we do all the time.
Oh, maybe it's a back or house exit stair.
For back or house.
Or
A backup house exit stair, I guess. I don't know, the advantage is it's adaptable to any existing house. By the way, I would say, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, our business is maybe 2/3 new build and 1/3 retrofit, or maybe half and half.
It's about well, yeah. Depends how what your measurement criteria are, because some of the commercial projects take up a lot more linear feet or dollars. But if you in terms of jobs, yeah, we're getting a lot of the small residential jobs that
So the adaptability means that you can always find a way to attach it to your existing house and your existing location and comply with the code and make it strong enough. So those are the advantages versus trying to get something off the shelf, which likely won't work, or having custom made, which might not work with your budget.
Yeah, the origin of Promenaid was a retrofit nightmare. So we really designed it originally because of the challenges of retrofitting. The funny angles, house settling, and you don't know what's behind the walls, you don't know where the studs are, all those things. So it is very, very efficient for new builds, but really a real dream in the retrofit.
All right.
Let me go to the next. So this is a great question. How they can contribute to the design of active stairs. And active stairs, as we understand it, are stairs that are designed for encouraging people not using elevators when they don't have to, and encouraging interaction between people. They're larger, wider stairs, very popular, I think, in work environments where everybody gets, siloed and in their cubbies, and you want to have conversation going. It's one of the reasons I like that we're back in the office. I think just about every environment, especially, creative environments like ours, these are organic conversations. We progress incrementally, so you have to have those spontaneous meetings. So those wide active stairs. I did a quick search. I'm gonna see if this shows up on the screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an example of of an active stair, wider, more space for more people. And I think it's an example of the idea of the stair being designed, but the tools available for it weren't quite there. So you can see these very long sort of bracing outcroppings to keep the handrail in place. I've seen a lot of things evolve. I was just telling Janice, my daughter is diabetic. When she was first diagnosed, she had to adapt her life to the tool that was available, the insulin. And now insulin has progressed so much that the tool adapts to the user. Same, I think I'm not saying we're Banting and Best, but we've kind of taken that approach with our handrail. We want the tool, the handrail, to adapt to the creativity, not have the creativity constrained and limited by the materials available. So we probably have pictures of all kinds of things where our system can adapt and bend and curve and on the fly on the job site to fit just about any configuration. We have you saw the freestanding capability in that original picture. We have a patented system for curving and bending where you don't have to actually bend the railing, and it's very much inspired by dryer ductwork, where you can have a couple of different angles and you can just twist it to whatever configuration you want, and then it locks down with an Allen key or a hex screw. It's just
Rob, another patent that we have, because you reminding me with this photo, you can see some one freestanding post. There are a couple of freestanding posts. By the way, this beautiful image, which I hadn't seen before, which is a good example of what we call MNO design, standing for money no object. So it's great if you have the budget. What very often you want to do is something that has this kind of utility and you know, aesthetics, but with a smaller budget, let's say. So in that image that was on the screen a second ago, you know, that whole configuration, which normally would be a custom handrail, can be done using the adjustable bends, using the post base that we can either install in new builds or retrofit, either on an angle or on a flat stair, mixing and matching pieces to create something, you know, very similar aesthetically and also exactly the same functionally as that very expensive custom stainless steel arrangement we saw a moment earlier.
Yeah, here's a much simpler example. This isn't an active stair, but it is an example of needing to create curves and bends that you're never quite sure what the dimensions are. So as you can see, this was all just done on the fly on the job site.
While you're saying that, Rob, someone did ask about lead time, and I did type an answer, but just if we want to answer for the group about lead time.
Sure. Now, lead time, well, there's a couple of different lead times. One is when we first get the architectural plans, we do a takeoff, we do a render, shop drawings, and that's all done usually within a few days, depending on if all the information is in the plans. The other side of it is lead time to deliver the product to the job site. Typically, from the time we get the purchase order, call it a residential job. They're typically, even if they're a couple of 100 feet, anything from a couple of, 2 feet to a couple of 100 feet, those can be done in a couple of days, and they're shipped everywhere in North America. Over a certain size, they go by transport, by ground. So it's 3 to 5 days transit. But anything under a certain amount of weight, say about 200 pounds, goes 2-day FedEx air. So I would say we get an order within 5 to 7 business days. It can be on the job site. The bigger commercial ones, 3 weeks sometimes. So it's when we get the question, I need it right away, we have to ask, what do you mean by right away? Because we've got a very different model for what right away is. So let me see here. Number 4. Well, that is it's number 5, swapping them out. Very easy, as you can see. This is all held together by set screws and hex screws. You can undo it for the most part. Undo it, take a part out, put a new part in. It kind of depends on where it is in the system, but it's usually, you know, it's very doable. Don't know we've ever even had to do that before. I don't recall. Maybe somebody has ordered it, you know, from us without, you know, ordered it online and done it. But I don't recall any specific request coming in that they want to take out this section of railing and, you know, take out the black and put in a white, for example. But the brackets, 100% removable. You just undo them, pop them out, and put a new one in. Kell?
Yep. Yeah, the whole system is kind of reconfigurable because traditionally the brackets are attached to the handrail either by drilling and screwing them in, which you know would leave holes if you want to move it to a different place, or welding them, which is of course even worse. But with the channel, you get to move the brackets around. So not only can you reconfigure, change the color, add a bracket, subtract, move them if necessary without any ill effects on the handrail after the fact, but you can even repurpose the handrail for a different location. This is part of the sort of sustainability of the product. What very often happens is in a larger project, when we won't supply the handrail necessarily pre-cut for a particular location. It's easier for the installer and for everybody to fit it in place the way you would use any other building material. In other words, to start at one end of the hall and just cut the railing as necessary and fit the brackets where it's easy, and go from there. And if there's a handrail left over at the end of the project, that's either goes into attic stock, or it can be used for another purpose. So we had cinema in an IMAX cinema that was it was installed over the last couple of days. They ended up with a bit of extra railing, and they decided to put our handrail in what they call the vomitory, which is the access way to the cinema. Why did they do that, even though it wasn't required by code? Is because they wanted to add lighting there, and it was easier to put the lighting in our handrail, since they already had the handrail, than to purchase and install a different lighting system. Easier and much less expensive. But it just gives you an idea of the flexibility in that they had this handrail left over. They bought a few LED light modules, and they were able to do it. And it's all because you can mix, match, reconfigure, add a bracket, subtract a bracket, add a bend wherever required. So that sort of over answers that question, I guess.
Bo, if you want to just pop up that first poll question, we've got some. We prepared some poll questions. Like I said, this is an experiment on our part. We really didn't know how many questions we would get, and now where the conversation would go. So,
somebody asked their demo, Rob. It's your time to shine. Can you show again how the corners get flexed?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yes, because everybody knows I am the man with the manual dexterity in this company. There's a rule here. If anybody sees me with a tool in my hand, they're allowed to tackle me and take it away. This is the extent of what I'm allowed to use, because there's saws back there. We even have an amputation kit because of me, probably. So actually, I'm gonna take a step back and show you the kind of the inner workings of it. The bend itself is really two halves, like that, and they're connected by this. It's literally the size of an Oreo cookie, and with how many teeth? 90 teeth on it. No.
You got me.
Anyhow, yeah, that's the quiz. So the
90 teeth.
Yeah, so you like that, and then each bend just clamps on one half of the sprocket, and you can see it's really just a hex screw, 4 millimeter, or how many, 5/32.
Right on.
Right on. Very most common size. And you have a range of motion. So we have a number of different size bends. We have and some of them very intentionally sized the standard slope between a horizontal and a 1 to 12 ramp is just under 5 degrees. So we have a 5-degree bend that makes it very simple to create that slope change for a code compliant ramp. We have a 32-degree bend, and that's the 3 that are connected on here. That's the slope of a standard commercial stair. And we also have a 14-degree bend to give us some versatility to create a different, give you a certain range of motion. And the range of motion that you get.
Sorry, we also have 0 degree and 90 degree.
Oh, 0 and 9. That's right. Sorry, I forgot about that. The 90-degree bend can either get you around a corner, or it does triple duty. It can be an ADA or a wall return and attached to the wall. So it provides you the code compliance, but it's also structural, so it can act as support for the railing. So you can see that when you are going around a corner, if you have, for example, right there is a 90-degree corner. If you're going around horizontally, it's 90 degrees. But if you're going around on a slope, this has to open up. So you open it up a bit, and it gets around if you have slopes on both sides. And it's quite a range of motion. So you have a center bend. In this case, it's a 32, and the 2 outer bends have to be the same size to maintain the distance from the wall on either side of the bend. And the range you have is the center one plus or minus the sum total of the 2 outers. So if this was a 32 and these were both 5s, you could have an angle anywhere between 22 and 42 degrees. There's my quick math. Yeah. And you can use them in any combination of 1, 2, or 3 of them, even 4 of them. That's not quite as common, but so you're going to start this type of thing when you can't quite achieve what you want with a single or 2 of the bends together. This gives you that versatility. This comes in really handy because what are the odds of all the corners, all the turns, everything in even a small construction job matching exactly the laser precision of the architectural plans? It just doesn't happen. So this gives you the versatility to adjust the angles, the lengths, the railings are all very easy to cut. We had a case a couple of weeks ago. We shipped a job to a cinema in Fredericton, New Brunswick. It's a retrofit, and the plans showed a straight ramp in the seating area. The cinema is 25 years old. For whatever reason, they neglected to include the slope change in the architectural plans. So I think at one end, you either would have had the railing at somebody's shoulder or at somebody's knee if you didn't have that bend in there. And we had a 5-degree bend on the job site, so they just put that in and problem solved in seconds. So
just 2 quick notes about the bends. We call it system sprocket lock, and the reason is Rob showed how you disconnect it and they can swivel. You tighten the screw and it locks in place. So it's a very structural, strong, smooth metal bend. Yeah. And the second thing is it does sound a bit complicated. That you can combine this one, you can combine that one, and plus or minus the sum of the parts of the other side. We generally take care of all of that. If we have architectural plans, then we'll do the call outs, the spec. We'll send exactly the parts required with the working with a shop drawing. It says, okay, here you use these 3 bends, here you use these 2 bends. So it's all kind of laid out that it goes together. I was going to say like IKEA. I would like to think easier than an IKEA cabinet, but always with the ability to adjust on the fly if, as Rob says, it doesn't quite, the architectural plans and the shop drawings don't quite match the reality.
This all feeds into our philosophy of simplicity and speed. Mm-hmm. We know our system. We've eat and breathe it. So rather than saying, okay, figure it out, we get the architectural plans, but we also turn around the shop drawings that show you exactly which parts go where. So you don't, you don't have to figure it out for when you're putting in the plans. On the job site, they don't have to figure it out. It's all there, just, end to end.
I think, traditionally you'd have a drawing in the architectural drawing would say, okay, there's a rail here and it goes to a post there. And, supplied by others, whatever. And someone's got to figure that out and weld it and maybe grind it and weld it again if it didn't work out the first time. We'll do the math and we'll say, okay, rather than a custom welded thing, we're able to create a smooth bend from these stock parts, so much less expensive and much faster. But almost as important as the speed and the cost is that when it gets there, it kind of pops together, doesn't have to be welded or on site, and it can be adjusted, unlike a welded arrangement. So it's just a way to do make sure it'll fit and be strong and conform to every curve on the site, without having to do custom steel work on the site.
Yep.
Awesome. Rob, do you happen to have a tech post over there to show? Not to put you on the spot, I do have one if you don't.
There you go.
There's a question about ADA while you're looking at that. Regard to ADA and code question, one should always remember that codes are the bare minimum. It was moving towards universal accessibility. Absolutely. That's that's key to our system, is that you can achieve the code and you can go farther if necessary. What we're finding, because I think Rob mentioned at some point that thousands of installations of homeowners, that you're able to produce kind of an ADA grade installation in your home, even though the code doesn't require it. And more than that, you can put for example, handrails on both sides of the stairs in your home, or in an area where it wouldn't normally be required by the code, because that's a key aspect of universal design, that those two handrails are there to provide access as the occupant ages.
Yeah. I'm going to address that and the tech post. So the poll question was about code, and we asked it kind of obviously intentionally. The question, the typical categories we get for questions are things like lead time, code compliance, durability, sustainability. And code compliance comes into play in two senses. One is it designed right? The other is the inspector is coming in 3 days and I need something code compliant, and it's always a Tuesday for some reason. And I need to comply with code. So the system is designed, like to deliver quickly, but also that the customer doesn't have to know what the code is. What we send is code compliant. So and one of the things that happens very often is you'll get somebody who's got a small business and they just order it off our website and they don't know that you need a wall return and they can't get their certificate of occupancy. We can send them 2 wall returns. They just unscrew the flat end caps and screw on the wall returns, and they're compliant. But back to the poll question.
The poll question.
Yeah,
I would say that 72% of the people at least got it dead on, that as whether ADA and building code are the same. The correct answer, if you're like, well, the correct answer is sometimes, or no, not really. There's a lot of overlap, but there's some key differences. And where they overlap is quite significant, which is why if you answer that they are the same, you're almost correct as well. Both the code and the for building code and the ADA require, for example, a continuous rail, very, very important. Grippable rail, very important. Rail that terminates to the wall at the ends, very important, so you don't get a fire hose or a purse strap snagged on it. So the huge overlap between what the building code requires and the ADA requires. And in fact, the building code covers almost everything in the ADA. We're talking about commercial building code. The difference is being some of the ADA requirements they might be the same with the building code, but they might go farther in the sense of where it's required. So different definition of where ADA style railings are required. But the key difference is that while the ADA is about accessibility, the building code is more leaning towards safety. So there are things in the building code that are not in the ADA at all, notably the strength of the railing. ADA specifies that the railings fittings can't swivel in their joints, so that you don't grab the railing and swivel yourself off of it. But the code goes farther and says, yeah, and it also has to hold, 125 pounds per linear foot, or that kind of thing. So where it comes to the strength, some of the key requirements about dimensions and locations and so on, there is more in the building code. The building code, which we keep referring to as the building code as if it's one thing, is largely governed or largely guided, I guess, by the IBC, the International Building Code, which is, been adopted in one form or another in all 50 states. And it's kind of a template for local and state codes, which even if they follow the International Building Code exactly, it's called international, but it's almost exclusively used in the United States. If they follow it exactly, they may be slower to adopt requirements of it, and might be slower to change requirements of it. So you have things that in the building code or even the ADA that get revised that persist in local codes, which is why not only are the ADA and the building code sometimes call for slightly different things, but the local codes might go a bit farther. A prime example is when the ADA was first introduced, there was a thought that stair ramps should have, stair handrails should angle down the stairs. They should, at the top of the stairs, go horizontal for at least a foot. And that's very important, so that when you reach the top of the stairs, you can get a firm footing on the landing above before you're completely off the stairs. And that they should do the same at the bottom. Go all the way down to a spot about 36 inches above the floor, which is 1 foot more or less ahead of the lowest step, and then level out for a foot there. Until, I guess they realized later that that horizontal inclination at the bottom doesn't really do anything. You're on a firm footing right in front of the stairs when you're reaching forward to grip the angled handrail. You don't need the horizontal one at the bottom. So it's not part of the ADA, and it's not part of the current ADA or the current International Building Code, but it does persist in certain buildings in California, I think every public building in Illinois, et cetera, where it was adopted and never changed. So there's that was a real leading question. Are they the same? Not only are the ADA and the so-called building code the same, all building codes are not quite equal.
But also for geometric reasons, you do have the horizontal at the top and bottoms of ramps.
Yes, ramp is interesting. Yes, you can't extend it, or you don't want to extend it for 1 foot horizontally, or sorry, at the same angle at the bottom of the ramp, so it does horizontal out. But as Rob says, for geometric reasons, if it's going down 1 step past the bottom step, that's already far enough physically to provide safety. So and there are current code.
And there are some interesting state or local codes. Illinois is the one that we talk about all the time. Illinois, on a commercial stair, you still require the horizontal, right?
At the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, at the bottom.
It's required everywhere at the top.
Yeah. So no other state that we know of requires the horizontal.
There are some others, but they're again more specific. California depends on the type of building, for example.
And the caveat, the caveat to all this is that it all depends on the mood and the nature and the disposition of the inspector on any given day. It's at the discretion of the inspector. So this is what the code says, and what will be cited is, really a question of that inspector. It's kind of like, it's not equivalent to speed limits, but it's kind of analogous. There's some discretion involved there.
Especially, Rob, if I could add that there are other codes besides handrail codes and other considerations when you're designing where a handrail goes. So the famous horizontal extension, if that's going to stick out into an exit door, it's going to provide more of a hazard than than the hazard of not having it. So certain code considerations are going to trump others, especially now in a new building. You don't want to be designing a situation where codes are going to conflict. But in a existing building or renovation or heritage building, there are areas where there's going to be a conflict, and it'll be common sense, hopefully, decision on the part of the code inspector.
I can tell you, in my high school yearbook, nowhere did it say under my picture, most likely to know the minutia of handrail code when he grows up.
Oh, I had that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yes.
Yeah.
So, let's see. There was a poll up there. I've got another question. Let me see if I can just get to it. This is no right or wrong for this one. We kind of know where we're going with this, but if you want to take a look at that one while I get back to, Janice asked me to show you our tech post. This relates a bit to the bends and the angles you want to deal with. So every ramp code compliant ramp has a 5-degree slope, and for years our clients were 4.8 degrees if you want to really get, but a lot of what we have developed over the years has been either listening to the tone of voice of our customers talking about things, or them telling us very overtly, I'm sick and tired of figuring out how to shim, or do I core drill, or how do I get the post vertical when it's on a ramp. So to make life easier, we have this system where when it's on a horizontal surface, it just points straight vertical. And you can see you can see that parting line, it's on an angle, because as you rotate it, might be hard to see,
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. So this mini post starts to pivot. So you're now offsetting the slope of the ramp. So all you need to do is place this on fasten this to whatever surface it is, concrete, with one anchor, and then you put the top half on, rotated to the appropriate setting.
Sorry, I'm going to correct you, Rob.
Please. There you go.
You do not fasten the bottom. You adjust the whole thing to the right angle.
Oh, and then
it's
put it in.
one assembly that's fastened to the ground with the wall anchor.
Yeah, might I remind everybody, this is my limit. So.
Well, yeah.
We're coming up on time.
Oh.
So, and I am really happy to report, thanks everyone for sticking around for the full time. It's very, very exciting. I think we had a great conversation. If anyone has any last minute questions they want to throw in the chat, last minute thoughts, I just wanted to give a 5-minute warning. I could see Rob getting started up again. His second wind was just starting.
Oh, no, that's not good. That's not good. Yes. There was the poll. There's we don't have to go through all these poll questions. I'm just gonna these are things that we have encountered. Handrails are often this bottleneck either in the design phase or in construction. And that's why we've designed so much of our system to alleviate that bottleneck. Now you can, I suspect that a lot of decisions are made in the design in a force fit situation where we have to decide now because the lead time or whatever it is. We wanted to create a system, not just the installation and the physical delivery, but the planning stage that is so much faster, where you can make those decisions later.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
you know, the concept is by allowing it to make a decision later and allowing the flexibility to you know, to change right up to the almost the day we ship it. And in fact, even during the installation, it'll definitely, first of all, free up the design process a little bit. So as Rob says, you don't get locked into, you know, the unchangeable handrails early on before the design is finalized. It allows you to compensate for, you know, other things that might disrupt the design during the process. You know, the need for you know, a window or a different arrangement in the floor or whatever that's going to otherwise would have an effect.
Was my
on the
screen
handrail.
not sharing?
Sorry?
I thought I was. Is my screen not sharing?
Your screen is not sharing.
There we go.
But, you know, aside from that, like, you know, freeing up the design process, you know, the idea is that by, you know, putting this, you know, the handrail, like pushing it a little bit later in the project, it gets to be where it should be, which is something that's going to be selected, you know, the finish and the look and so on for aesthetic reasons, for strength, for, you know, how it fits well in the project, but not, you know, define the stair or not define the location. So the handrail, you get to choose whatever, you know, finish or quality is required. But in the end, because the handrail is going to be defined or should be defined by the location, we allow that to happen because you can get right up till the final build. And then with the short lead time and the on-site adaptability, the handrail will work with that location rather than having the handrail kind of either lock in a design too early in the process or require expensive modification too late in the process.
Yeah. This is an example of it had to be a very specific location for the brackets, you know, so the design was already there. This is being outside and durable. Again, there's very specific locations those brackets needed to be. This was designed before the concrete was poured, you know, you never know exactly where it's going to be. There was a question asked about removing parts and swapping out parts. I know we've just got about a minute or so left. This was designed, this is a performance stage in South Carolina. It's at a redevelopment, beautiful facility that was made, and they wanted this installed when there was no performance going on, and this can all be removed and put back after the performance. So it's the versatility. Other innovations is there's the LED lights we were talking about in the cinema, and this is our infill panel to meet code for
Guardrail.
For guardrail, and this is custom made. It installs much quicker. So constantly kind of adapting to what the environment needs, not what our product is. So I will leave you at that. Bo, I don't know if you can send out the other poll questions or if people want to answer them. If you have any questions, oh yeah, this was one of the things we didn't get to, the myth of the D-loop. D-loops aren't required, but the horizontal is required. Let me just get back to there. Like I said, this was an experiment. We would love to know what you thought about it, how helpful or informative it was. You can email me directly or call me directly anytime. We're always learning and interested to learn about stuff we just weren't aware of yesterday. So please get a hold of us anytime.
All right, awesome. I'll just throw this last one up real quick and get a few responses at wrapping up.
Sure.
But yeah, just want to thank everyone in the audience so much today for coming out and asking so many great engaging questions. We really appreciate it. It was nice to have, more of an open discussion format. So thank you to everyone who participated. We will have a quick survey as you're leaving today's event. If you have any questions that came up as you're kind of jumping off the webinar, feel free to enter them on the survey and give us some feedback there. And that would be super helpful. Let us know how you liked this format, and we can start bringing some more kind of discussion-based webinars to you in the future. All right. Other than that, just want to thank you, Kell and Rob, for sharing all of your great insights. And thank you, Janice, for managing the questions so effectively. Really appreciate the entire team at Promenaid for hosting today's webinar.
Thank you, Bo. It's
Thank you.
always great.
All right, awesome. Cool. Well, got a few responses on those last two poll questions. So thank you so much, everyone, for filling those out. And we are just over time, so I'm going to go ahead and let everyone go, but I hope everyone has a great rest of their Thursday.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.